All right, y'all, today we are gonna go over creating a multicam sequence and what is a multicam sequence. For us, when we shoot weddings and everything else within our realm, we always use 3 to 4 cameras. So sometimes when putting down a timeline might get a little confusing. So multicam is one of the easiest and most productive way to edit. And as a shooter and editor myself, it's the best way for us to get these timely edits out to the client. So we're gonna go over the importance of audio and within everything else within the multicam creation and why audio is so important. So we're gonna take you behind the scenes. Back there is our editing setup, but we're gonna take you behind the scenes and what that looks like. All right, so what we're gonna do first is usually when we're editing, we break it down in certain parts. So for this one, we have speeches, we have ceremonies, and then what we try to do is combine everything within it together. So of our 3 cameras, we'll have the JVC, we have the Sony, and we have the DJI Osmo 5R. Let me get out of this, we can see this. But essentially what would happen is I will put together everything in a bin. So we'll create a new bin, we'll store everything in within this, and within the bin itself, we'll have the ceremony audio. So it's pretty easy. What we want to do is collect all the bins. Usually when we're starting out first, you figure out which cameras you want first. And that's the way you'll kind of delegate the edit within Premiere. It'll tell you what they want. So you can either always go to user order, or you can go by name. You can kind of go anywhere you want to, but we usually use JVC first since that's our first cam. Sony's our 3rd cam, and then Osmo is our roaming cam. So this is what we're gonna do is we're gonna hit all of these together, and we're gonna create multicam source sequence. So what we'll do here is we'll name it ceremony 3 cams. And what we'll do within this to make it easier, so on a synchronized point, the easiest way to do it is through audio. Since we have the master audio and that's recorded via Zoom, that's connected to either the DJ booth or the speakers. And I'll kind of go into that more a little bit, how to connect your audio into the Zoom, how to connect it into the audio board. In this case, we had an outdoor ceremony, and we had an outside speaker. So the DJ had a wireless setup for 2 of his speakers, and we plugged into his board, and this is essentially what's gonna happen. So sequence setting, we'll go to camera 1. Everything is kind of pretty automatic. Sequence preset, this is where all your presets are and everything else, so you don't really have to focus into that. But audio is going to be the big one. So what happens is we can go either mono or stereo. I prefer mono so we can fill. Sometimes when you multicam, what would happen is the audio will either pan left or pan right for some reason. And we've never really figured out why, but it's not a huge deal. It doesn't take a lot of time. So we're just going to hit OK. And depending on the size of the file and everything else, all right, so this is what will happen. Sometimes, for some odd reasons, a camera will be missed. Don't know why, but it's not that hard to put them back. When you create the multicam sequence, what will happen is Premiere will create a bin called process clips. And process clips will essentially have everything that you've been able to multicam, that's successfully multicam. So we are going to go to this, open up a sequence, and where are you at? That's not right. Okay, so we're going to go to this. We're going to go new sequence from clip, and we're going to rename this cam ceremony multicam sequence. All right, and we're gonna go to this. And this is essentially the beauty of multicam and why it works so well. So in front here, this is our timeline. And you're wondering why it's why it's green. So when it plays, this is essentially what it would look like. One of the beautiful things about multicam is depending on what your setup is, but if you create your shortcut, Shift 0 is usually hours. You can set it up to whichever you like. You can go to here and actually we'll hit this, and then where is the multicam sequence? Toggle multicam. This is one of the button editors. We'll just drag it on here. If it's not, okay, there you go. So that will pop up. Right now the sequence is we're in 4K. We should have been in 4K, so that's why it's a little cropped. So the beauty of multicam is that you'll see each and individual cameras, and the easiest way to navigate in between all of that is just to hit the actual angle itself. And what will happen in the timeline is that it'll create automatic cuts. So let's say we want to do this and we want to go forward. This is kind of the experience of the walk. It's a little cropped and I'll fix it in a little bit. But essentially if I want to cut to get the groom's angle or the entrance walkway here, right now everything's in sync because the audio is in sync. So the most important thing is that you have audio on for all cameras, or else multicam does not work if you do not have audio. So that's how essentially everything syncs up. And if you want to see a certain part where the groom or the family is walking up, we really use this for the purpose of, like, let's say we have the groom that's waiting already at the altar and he sees the bride coming up. So right now we'll be able to see the different point of views and perspective of each individual angle. So don't mind these ugly cuts, these are not real. So essentially, and what already happens is that Premiere is already cutting these sequences. Already cutting these footage. So you don't have to go in and do everything yourself. So that's really the beauty of it, because you're essentially cutting up as you go, and really it's the fastest and best way than stacking each individual clips on top of layers and minimizing those. So for you, make sure always audio is on for your shooters. So this is what a multicam, if you go into it and you double click, you go control and click, this is what it will look like. And this big jar gold is essentially what the multicam is based out of. So you have your third camera, you have your second camera, and you have your first, and that's why we organized the way we did. Is it basically functions off all of these. So as you can tell, we have all the audio, we have all the footage, everything lined up, and it's a little funky how they spread things out, but it's really not that big of a difference, or it really doesn't matter that much. But essentially, this is the audio ceremony from the board, and everything is essentially linked up and synced up to it, and that's how it does a multicam based on audio. So just always make sure that it's on. So for us, when we shoot 4K, the easiest thing we can do is go scale the frame size, and I'll go back to frame. You gotta take care of the edges a little bit and really put in an actual sequence, but for this tutorial purpose, it's not that huge of a deal. And that's about it. So for you guys, just make sure audio is on. You put everything into the bin, you create the multicam sequence, and you base it off audio. That's the most important part. And for that one clip that was not able to be put in for some odd reason, we can go into here and figure out where, I think this is towards the end. I'll read it as 3315, and I'll just kind of put it here. And what I can do is, based off this, figure out it's somewhere like that. And what we can do is kind of just sync this correctly. There you go. And we'll either go 2, and this last clip will sync up with this. So maybe we'll go number 1. It's always a little trial and error to figure this out. Sometimes you just gotta manually sync it, and I don't really know why, but if you guys do, that'll be great to let me know. So something like this, but I think assuming that we didn't cut cameras and everything else remains the same, but it's just looking at this, it's a much better workflow than stacking each other footage on how people would normally do it. So hopefully that helped with your editing sequences. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to us anytime. We're on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at IndieMarchFilm. And if you guys ever want us to do any more tutorials, leave a comment below. The next coming weeks, we'll kind of go over one of the most important issues to me, which is audio, and why we're heavily focused on it as a company. Without good audio, you're just gonna have shit video, and that's what it is. So we'll go over the importance of that. The biggest thing we want to talk about is how to connect your external recorders, such as an H4. We use the H8, but we used to use the H1 into a DJ board, and how to communicate with the DJ himself, or with how to communicate with the DJ, and how to check levels within that. So stay tuned for more videos. We hope you guys enjoyed this one.